As you can see, after the fire, the wiring is a disaster. I was lucky enough to find the color codes that belong to the other side of the sensors. It took some time, but I did find where wire went where. Okay, all the wiring has been spliced together, and it's been shrink wrapped like this, all of them. And now I've got this, it's cloth, it's like antique wire loom harness. It was split from here to here so that I could get this wiring in here, and then it comes to where the original tape together was, and I'm just taping it back together so that it protects it. And this tape here is actually ditch tile tape. It's freaking awesome. It's just like electrical tape, but it's wider, and you can buy it probably at any tile supply center. It's probably actually better than electrical tape. It's a little bit more stretchy, and it's thick. It's amazing stuff. It's not cheap either, but for what I'm using it for, you know, look at it. It's doing almost 3 times more surface than a small roll of electrical tape. I really don't see any reason to go any further. That's all dirty right there. It's just to keep it. It goes down in there underneath it. Right there. And then these 2 wires here, 3 wires. One of the upper intake manifold heaters, it's gone. I got to get a new one. This one I did find down here. Ford dealership, New Holland dealership did have one. Bolted right in. Get me another wire tie. Hold that in place. See, these wires right here are not 100% necessary. Need to tape that one off in case it's got some juice. Now I got to work on the fan shroud because it melted, and then I got to work on this tube for the intake. Onward I go. Okay, somewhere in the United States there is a rubber boot for this. It goes from 2 7/8, nope, excuse me, yeah, 2 7/8 outside diameter to 2-inch outside diameter, and it just like 45's into there. It's a rubber boot. When this tractor caught on fire, it melted that part. It didn't mess with the belts or anything. It was just a wiring harness in this tube and the fan shroud that I can see of right now. So what I got to do is make something. We're going to make it out of muffler tubing. I'm going to show you now what I want to try. I'm going to do it on paper first. Okay, with a pipe fitter's book, we're going to try a little bit of sheet metal. I'm sure there's books out there that show you sheet metal stuff as well. I remember doing some of this in high school at the trade schools. It was a 4-hour class that was separate from high school. But this here is a print and a drawing of a orange peel head, which would be a piece of pipe that you would pie shape cut it, and you would fold it together and make a cap or dead end. And you can do this in different ways and leave it tapered and make a what you would call a concentric funnel, because this is a concentric reducing. But what I want to do is an eccentric reducer, and this does have some guidelines that you can follow for the diameter pipe that I got, but this goes by outside diameter of standard wall pipe. I'm using tubing. I can't find anything on tubing, so I'm gonna have to shrink it down just a little bit from what they're going by of the fitting down. They're saying 4 9/16. Oh, I got a 4-inch piece here, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this in like 3/4 of the amount of time distance. And what I've started already, the outside diameter of this, the OD times pi, and I get 9 inches and 30 thousandths of an inch. So in that distance from here to here and up here, as I'm going to make a pattern, and then when that pattern's made, then I'll trace it onto this piece of steel and hope it does what I want it to do. Okay, I've cut this pie shape, and I didn't have the camera on earlier. I'll show you what I'm doing here. I'll get this perfectly squared on bottom and roll out around there, and take your marker or whatever you have and mark the cutout area all the way around. This is a flat spot because that's going to be the eccentric side. Well, the flat side, the eccentric side tapers and goes towards the back of the flat side. So now I'm going to use a thin wheel blade grinder to cut it. It's too thick for 10 snips. We'll see what happens. When I made this bed, this piece of angle iron I put in, it's been very useful. So several things just like this. Okay, with that being shaped like that, well, this is going to have to get shaped some. I might have to cut it some more. We're wanting 2 inches. It looks like I cut a little more than I should have for 2. Now, what I need to do is slice this back a little bit further here, and those arms are going to go further back, and these will come back farther. Now, I have a distance of tolerance that I need to meet. It's called from center to end. Center is where the angle starts to the end of the pipe, the tubing that I'm going to cut, and make that angle so that it fits in that area of the tractor. And you notice I'm cutting on it more and more because I need to shorten that entire can to meet that 2-inch tolerance for the 2-inch to branch into that eccentric piece. Getting close. Alright, I'm adding to this piece because the battery or the SD card, something quit on me last August. And I lost a clip or a portion of the video. So I'm trying to demonstrate what I did on this tubing for this air intake. And it's January right now, I believe about the 20th. And after I cut the pie shape that you've seen me use the pattern, as you can see in these two fittings, this side here, thumb is going up and down. That's the end that was tapered and pie shaped. And I cut it at an angle so that when it got welded on there, it was at 57 degrees. Now at the top where my thumb is, it got cut down quite a bit to fit onto that larger tubing. And then the 2-inch side down here, it got cut down a little bit more as well so that it would fit up against the intake manifold. But when I got done welding it all out, or grinding and cutting and fitting, it didn't look super pretty, but it holds air. And sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to get something finished. And that's what I did. The welding leads are set up at straight polarity. That means that only 30% of the arc force is coming out of that negative lead, but you're using it for the stinger. And then your stinger or your positive lead becomes your ground. Now, I'm possibly at only 15 or 20 amps. It could have been more than that, I'm not sure, but there's the settings. Now, you don't normally weld at this straight polarity. It just helps bond better and not burn through the metal as quickly. I'm just trying to make it a tight sealed weld. There's no x-rays involved, just trying to button it up. What I'm doing here is just tacking it and helping bond the two sides together until I can be able to make a continuous bead. Right now there's a scarce in Indiana of oxygen acetylene. I would have liked to have used an acetylene torch and welded that with a gas hand torch, but I needed the oxygen acetylene for cutting thicker metals, working on that loader that I've been building. Now this is stick rod. I'm using 6010 3/32, and you just got to keep flipping that around and letting it cool down and start somewhere else. And I ground it down the first bead after I tied it in, and then put a second bead on it and made it so that it was airtight, a sealed weld. After you get it all welded up, I took this sandpaper wheel and 80 grit and used my drill, and I got an extension for my drill. Harbor Freight usually has them. And go down in there and grind down those welds after I got done making a root bead in there. Now this is this one. I've got another one that has a better picture of it. And ground all of it down.
and then started welding on it again to fill up any voids that may suck air from outside and not through the filter. But ground all these welds down and polished them, and then welded it again. You see right here, there's a little pinhole. Oop, there we go. Little pinhole right there. And got to cover all them up. That way it's sucking air from the filter. I just want to share this piping in the welds. These are welds that I've made, and they are X-ray quality. I am a fitter in the trades. I've worked in power plants and on natural gas distribution pipelines. I'm not real happy about the tubing that I made for that tractor, but I was in a hurry to get it made. I had hay to bale, and animals need to be fed in the wintertime. If anyone is interested in a career in the pipe fitters or steam fitters, leave a message in the comments and I'll try to guide you in the right direction. This is the piece that did get installed. It was welded the second time. It's not pretty, I'll admit, but the piece did work. The internal of it was ground down, or it was sanded down with that flapper wheel so that there was no slag and that the air could flow. All right, this is where it's tied in. I got a boot on top and a boot on bottom. And it is airtight, sealed. Startup day. Prime that fuel, getting everything on the injector so that there's fuel there. After this startup was complete, the weather at the end of September got warm, and I was allowed to start cutting hay and getting ready to bale. Last year in 2022, I did get a chance to find a baler that had a hydraulic tensioner, and there was a lot of setup to do to get it ready for the Holscher accumulator, and it took some time, about a few days. And I'll admit, there were no hiccups with the electrical. Everything did exactly what it was supposed to do. I got lucky. Nothing was hooked up wrong. And the charging system was good, and the lights. Everything was good. In the field, I didn't get any video of mowing, but this is the alfalfa mixed grass hayfield, and getting ready to do some tethering. At this time, I'm real happy with the way the tractor is running. You're going to hear it. It sounds pretty good. In the next video, I will show baling hay. there were a lot of hiccups. We had a flat tire. We had some hydraulic problems. I'm not sure if I'll have all of that in it, but I'll show a little bit of baling hay for October of 2022. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe for future videos. Thank you.